Beloved Saints, today's 5-minute message of redemptive history is about abarim during the 40 years in the wilderness from the second book of redemptive history series, The Covenant of the Torch. When we look at Numbers 33 verse 44, during the 40 years in the wilderness, the 37th campsite that the Israelites stayed in was abarim. This means way of ruins. First, of the Israelites, the men of war numbered in the first census who were still alive died at abarim. This place was a barren land located in the border area southeast of Moab. Because this land was covered mostly with rocks and crags, Moab, Edom, and other nations showed little interest in it. This place was extremely close to the Wadi Zered, or Zered Valley. Numbers 21 verses 11 to 12 states that the Israelites camped at abarim and then at Wadi Zered. But in actuality, there was not enough space at Wadi Zered for them to camp. The camp of the Israelites probably stretched from abarim all the way to Wadi Zered or Zered Valley. For this reason, Numbers 33 verses 44 to 45 states that the next camp after abarim was Dibon-Gad, not Wadi Zered. What kind of place was Wadi Zered or Zered Valley? The Bible tells us that it was at Wadi Zered that the men of war numbered in the first census who were still alive were killed by God's hand. In Deuteronomy chapter 2 verses 14 to 16 it says, 38 years passed from the time we left Kadesh Barnea until we crossed the Zered Valley. By then, that entire generation of fighting men had perished from the camp, as the Lord had sworn to them. The Lord's hand was against them until he had completely eliminated them from the camp. In other words, the men of war from the first generation, excluding Joshua and Caleb, all died at abarim. What was the reason for the death of these first generation of the Israelites in the wilderness? This was the result of the sin of Israelites grumbling. In Numbers 14:29 to 30, it says, "In this wilderness your bodies will fall, every one of you, 20 years old or more, who was counted in the census, and who has grumbled against me. Not one of you will enter the land I swore with uplifted hand to make your home, except Caleb son of Jephunneh and Joshua son of Nun." In such a way, abarim became the way of ruins due to the deaths of the men of war from the first generation. Second, at abarim, a new march towards Canaan began for the second generation of Israelites. As a result of the Israelites grumbling, the men of war from the first generation died at abarim. And this place became a way of ruins, just as its name implies. However, God did not give up on the Israelites. Centered around the second generation of the men of war, God began a new march towards the conquest of Canaan. Everyone, abarim was a barren land located in the border areas, and it truly was a place of ruins. However, in Numbers 21:11, God says that abarim faces the sunrise. And so this shows us that it doesn't just end as a place of ruins. A bright sun will rise, and it symbolizes a new beginning. Just as the dawn breaks after the darkest hour, so too did a vigorous march toward Canaan begin again after the death of the first generation. Beloved saints, God has definitely prepared for us the spiritual Canaan, the kingdom of heaven, which is a world of rest without pain or suffering. However, we cannot enter into this land of Canaan by being like the first generation who grumbled. So what I pray is that we will remove all of the grumblings in our heart. Let us instead give thanks to God and look towards God, who is our spiritual Son. By faith, let us all enter into the spiritual Canaan, the kingdom of heaven. I bless in the name of the Lord.